Lowe's knows Sundays are for football, so tackle your home improvement projects by Saturday and earn your Sunday with great deals on LG and Bosch appliances, select Bounty and Swiffer cleaning products, and more. Then once your to-do list is done, get ready to kick back, relax, and enjoy the game. Shop in-store or online now and earn your Sunday with help from Lowe's, official partner of the NFL. Wasabi is purpose-built to free your business from skyrocketing storage costs and fees. Wasabi is the go-to provider for professional and collegiate sports teams around the world. Check out Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cyber criminals. Wasabi, driving innovation in data storage for up to 80% less than market competition. Try for free at wasabi.com. Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage, proud partner of the iHeart Podcast Network.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Apple Card members can earn unlimited daily cash back on everyday purchases wherever they shop. This means you could be earning daily cash on just about anything, like a slice of pizza from your local pizza place or a latte from the corner coffee shop. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app to see your credit limit offer in minutes. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
The following is an exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers in the National Football League.
Yeah! Touchdown!
Panther Talk. Panther Talk. Panther Talk.
This is Panther Talk on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network.
My initial message to the guys is we don't ever have to feel this again. We never have to go into the end of the season relying on other people. When we get to the wild card round in the playoffs, we finish. And then the overarching message that I left them with is it's about belief. And that's what we're creating with this group is we believe that if we play good football, a brand of football that we're proud of for our Panthers fans and for our group, for our team, that we can beat anybody. And that's been a true statement this year. And the guys were ready to do it again tonight, but we didn't get it done.
And now, along with Jim Szoke and Eugene Robinson, here's Anish Shroff with Panther Talk, live from the Panthers broadcast facility at Bank of America Stadium.
It is the final Panther Talk of the season. Anish Shroff, Jim Szoke, Eugene Robinson, and as always, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales. First off, congratulations. I know the ending was tough, but this season brought so much hope and joy to the city, to the region, to Panther fans. The stadium was rocking on Sunday. It's been almost 48 hours since the game on Saturday. As you've had a chance to kind of digest it all, what's the feeling like here on Monday?
The first feeling I have is thinking about when we first came, as a staff, put our heads together about, what was in front of us and what we wanted to accomplish. And what came out of that was we want to build a brand of football that our Panthers fans can be proud of, that we can be proud of. The quality of ball, the effort, the play style has got to be just right. We owe it to the sport. We owe it to the game, to the fans, everyone, to the players, to have that kind of pride, to put ourselves in a position to play for that first championship, and for the guys, the entire group, to come together and to put ourselves in this position right here. There's a lot of pride that comes with that. And then there's also just, as we're still living through wild card weekend with one more game tonight, the excitement around these games, and all of them, except for the one last night, decided by 4 points or less, with the last possession being on the line, to know that we belong in these types of games, and to see just how critical every day is, the fundamentals and the details, and how tight the margins are in these games. But so the disappointment of coming so close and not being able to finish it, but at the same time building something that we are proud to be a part of and proud to build from.
Anish mentioned about 48 hours. Is there any plays, and typically I'm thinking as a player, that you think in your head like, man, I wish we could have did this, I wish we could have did that, or do you even dwell, or have you moved on even past that?
Oh, there's a bunch of them, and that's a weekly thing, and that's a part of the process. It's a part of having the courage to look at the truth, to be accountable to it all across the board. And, I don't want to sit here and start pulling up those plays, Eugene.
Don't do it. Yeah.
We had opportunities and we made some plays, and the Rams, they made more. Namely, they made one more play. That was a beautiful throw, a beautiful catch by Colby Parkinson to get in there for that last touchdown. I got to give those guys a lot of credit. But, we just continue to take those things into consideration. And now we have a chance to regroup and to look at the big picture and try to find ways to help the Panthers win.
We're talking about playing clean football. Do you look at your team and see how much they've grown?
Absolutely. You're looking at the shift from year one to year two in terms of penalties and how much cleaner football we played this year. And it starts with great technique, because when you play with great fundamentals and technique, you're in a firm and strong position. You're owning your ground, and it keeps your hands clean, and it keeps a lot of those decisions out of play when you play those things well. But I saw that improvement. From a ball security standpoint, we didn't finish in the positive on the season. We were -2 in the turnover differential. But if I look across the group, for the guys that were handling the ball from a skill position standpoint, you think about the jet sweep fumble by Jimmy Horn, and Chuba got one punched out. And outside of that, we took care of the ball for the most part. And, Bryce taking opportunities and being aggressive. Interceptions happen, when you're trying and when you're going for it and competing, that stuff happens. But I felt collectively, even on the defensive side and special teams, getting the ball out, real improvement right there. We talk about the ball as being the most important factor, and we made huge strides there. We got to do better. We got to continue to flip that thing so we can be in the positive, and that'll be a really critical part of our success going into next season.
When you get to the day after the season is locker clean out, and you're talking to a room full of players that many will continue here, some will be elsewhere, some may never play another football game today, beyond this weekend, I should say. So what's kind of your message to all those guys collectively when you're in that situation, saying your goodbyes at the end of the season? Appreciation
for the work that goes into it. Nobody knows firsthand than our group, and what it takes, the attention to detail, the focus, the emotional, mental energy of facing adversity, of handling success, and then just the work that goes into being on the grass and going for it, and giving everything they have on Sundays. And just what an appreciation, for the entire group, from the athletic training standpoint to strength and conditioning, the coaches, certainly, the support staff, everybody just giving everything they have to try to find that competitive edge, and the players who ultimately go out there and play this beautiful physical game. But, the toll that it takes, and for guys to be able to, rehab their bodies and get themselves back to a point where they can compete at a high level. Just what an amazing appreciation I have for that, and for all the sacrifices given.
Saturday looked and felt like a celebration of this town, this area becoming a Panther city again, and you can feel it everywhere you go. My dad's telling me he's wearing his Panther stuff around. People are honking and waving. It's that feeling again, and you see the power of sports and community. How have you personally felt that living in Charlotte?
I believe it's a calling. I believe that we are called to excellence in whatever we do, and that's the biggest thing that you can do to represent a group, to represent ourselves, because it gives a sense of pride to the community, and to feel that outpouring and to feel the encouragement. And while we have high standards, we're trying to push to win all these games, and even coming off of last year, on a 5-win season, but to see the progress and the appreciation for what we're trying to build, and then this year, to make it all the way to the wild card round, and to really go blow for blow in a game, and to feel that support, it means everything. It's the world to us, as we know. And I try to make sure, and as a coaching staff, we try to make sure that our players understand, like, yes, it is about football. Yes, it is about winning, but don't underestimate the impact of being kind in the community, of being available, of reaching out, and, some of the things that especially Nicole Tepper does to bring the community together and to give back. And when you win, it makes it even more special, and so just trying to make sure that we all remember that we're a part of a bigger story here.
And in the same vein, you've now raised the bar, and so now expectations change as well. How do you kind of wrap your head around, okay, now there's a good chance the Panthers probably will be picked to win the division next year?
I love that. I love the expectations of it. I love the standards being elevated. You've probably heard some of our players. Derek was quoted, that we have a new standard. I absolutely love that, because it then gives me the ability to push the urgency, to push the prep in the off season. We come back in mid-April. Some of the guys may stay in town. We have a great plan for them. A lot of them will go to their homes in different places and train. And parting messages for me is like, we got to handle business and make sure you show back up in April ready to work. And you're not showing back up to get in shape at that point. This is your job, and we all have a job to do. We're all going to be all hands on deck working for that. But I love the urgency of it. I invite that for our group, because the expectation is every week when we play good ball and we do right and we nail the critical variables of how we win and what it takes to win, it requires that sense of urgency for all of us to be connected.
Coach, everybody's always talking about playoff experience, pedigree, and all that stuff. How important was it for you guys to get that playoff experience? Because some of those guys have never even been in the playoffs, and to see how this bowl and just how different it was, that game was, how important was that?
It was incredible. It was incredible to know that hard work pays off. Again, while we would have loved to have beat Tampa in that last game, we had a couple of opportunities even before that to put the shirts and hats on the verge of a win. We worked so hard throughout a season and played enough good football to be right there at the end, and then to just get the experience, to see what it feels like in Bank of America Stadium, and just asking the guys, JJ, who's been here forever, and faced, he's seen different playoff games in different scenarios, just the back and forth of that game. He can't remember a more electric moment, than that one, and he's been a part of some really big games. So it was really important to feel that, guys, this is what we're playing for. Win that first championship first. Win the division so you host a home game because there's power in that, and it was certainly an advantage for us.
So Ike Ekwonu, Charlotte kid, talk first about the person and the player, the tough injury. Also probably makes you focus differently in some ways heading into the offseason with the draft and other ways of acquiring offensive line help, I would think.
Absolutely. We have to take that into consideration, and we don't know exactly what the timeline would look like, but I'm betting on Icky doing all the work and grinding just like he does everything else. A super high character guy. And so we'll be counting on Icky to come back to us. But in general, we're always going to look for ways. First and foremost, how do you improve from one year to the next? Let's get healthy. Let's get our players that we're counting on to come back. You got Pat Jones, Icky. Let's get Rob for a full season. Rob Hunt. Let's start there. Let's develop the guys that got some exposure this year, some of the younger players, some of the newer players that came to us, and let's pour into those guys. And then let's challenge this roster, and that's something that Dan and I have talked about now going into this offseason as well. Is it is our job to challenge our current roster, either through free agency or the draft, to see where we can push, because competition is the heart and soul of it, and it drives everything, and it elevates the entire style of play from a group. Because when you bring talent in there, everybody knows, okay, I got to take it up a notch. I got to pour in more. I got to invest more, and it just helps the whole environment.
And then one more, of course, Jonathan Brooks, young running back, sat out this year getting healthier and rehabbing. Where is he kind of on that timetable right now as far as his progress?
He is trending in the right direction, and we had a plan to not put him out there this year, after a second ACL injury, and to make sure that we give him the best chance to compete and to affect our roster and coming into this year. And he's flying around. He's big. He's beautiful looking. And, just the way that he's progressed and went about his work, Denny and the staff have done an incredible job of bringing him back on, the strength staff as well. He's one of the more powerful, explosive athletes that we have, and he's going to have an opportunity to compete to start for this team just like a lot of other guys.
And, Coach, finally, Bryce Young, where did he make the most strides this year, and what are your expectations for him now going into year 4?
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say is just his involvement and the interactions between Brad and myself and Will, the quarterback's coach. Just his understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, and then his feedback is so critical for us. It is so important because all we talk about is making sure that our schemes, our concepts fit Bryce where he's the most confident and able to do those things, and the work that he's put in, the time on task with our wide receivers and tight ends, to fine-tune some of the pass game. But then as he sees it and understands it, he's like, hey, can we put this guy here? Hey, can we move this split out to this one? Can we do this formation? Hey, I saw this one. And that feedback is so valuable for us as we set the foundation of what we're doing, but fine-tuning it in a way that Bryce is confident and comfortable with, on that. And then the second part of it is just operating at the line of scrimmage and using his tools. Joe Gilbert, our offensive line coach, heads up the pressures, and he and Bryce have done a great job of getting us to good solutions, whether it's on the perimeter, signals, or whether it's the protection adjustments. And we've had some really big plays come off of that. Those are some amazing areas that he's really taken strides this year.
Dave Canales, head coach of the Carolina Panthers. What an amazing season, and been so fun for us to kind of follow from afar, and we appreciate your time as always. I think everybody in this city and this area is excited for what's to come.
Well, I'm very excited too, and just really excited for 2026. And our goal is going to be the same thing: is can we become the best 2026 Panthers, building off of a foundation? But every year is a new year. Can we recommit those commitments are going to be powerful and take us where we want to go.
All right. Dave Canales here on Panther Talk. We will talk with Coach again when 2026 fall-ish rolls around. We'll be back on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network.
This is Panther Talk, brought to you by Bank of America. What would you like the power to do?
Anish, Jim, Eugene, sad day, final Panther Talk of the season. We'll be back in the summer when training camp starts. But, Jim, I think we have to start with, we were talking about this before the show. We live in a world where the algorithms and the tech companies, they profit by dividing us. They profit by creating division and these polarizing absolutes, and everything is binary, and there's very little unity. And then what you see on Saturday was just people coming together and the power of what sports can be in a city, in a community, with a fan base. We haven't felt that in Charlotte in a long time, and even walking out of the stadium, yes, there was a feeling of coulda, shoulda, woulda, but there was also a feeling of this now feels like the springboard, the start of something. We're back. Mm-hmm. And the team played hard. They didn't get blown out. They fought. It was the microcosm of the season in many ways in one game, but more than anything, just the power of community. I thought that was incredibly palpable and incredibly needed.
And I think, like the last time we went to the playoffs, we made it as a wild card. We lose at New Orleans. If we had done that and lost by 2 touchdowns, it'd been, it's like the Bobcats made the playoffs one year.
Yeah.
But this is like at home, the energy all week, the energy at the game, all the keep pounding of the drum moments before the game and before the fourth quarter. The crowd was genuinely Panthers. The booing was real against the opponent. We haven't.
And the refs.
These are things, yeah. And these are things that, well, I say from the standpoint of the fans, because it wasn't too long ago, it was like, is this a home game or an away game based on the noise coming out of the stands? So it felt good to be like, this is a tough place to come into and come play. This is a home field advantage. And I think the fans did their part, and I think the team did their part. So I think it was kind of nice. And Eugene, there was 30-some former players as far as legends, and you're in that group of players. So what was that like as far as the ones we saw pounding the drum? But there were so many. We're doing the postgame show. Brenton Burson walks by. I mean, it's just like there's so many different eras and players of Pro Bowl versus guys that played here that just were contributors. But what was that like having all those guys around?
Everybody felt like they were a part of it. They were a part of something that they contributed. Even though you didn't play one down at all, contributing to this season, you felt like you were a part of it. You felt like you had a stake in it. And whether I saw Tolbert or I saw so many. You were talking about Brenton Burson. I saw Buckner. Somebody thought he was Charles Johnson. I said, no, that's Brenton Buckner. But there was so many guys that was in and around, and they just wanted to be a part of it. That's why they wanted to be down on the field. They wanted just to touch the field and just feel the same emotions and allow them to take themselves back to the time when they had the playoffs and all that. So it was really good. And I thought that the Carolina Panthers staff, I thought from communications, marketing, every part of the staff, legends, I thought they did an amazing job of really incorporating some of the older guys into the mix. When we're talking about Campbell, we're talking about the legends. When we saw Wesley Walls, and we saw Musim Muhammad, we saw Jake Delhomme and Steve, and when they came walking out, I'm like, oh my goodness, it was powerful, absolutely powerful. I was screaming, that's my dudes, that's my dudes, And so from all that, it just felt like a home game. And this is what felt like what a playoff should be. And that's what I was asking Coach Canales. What about the playoff experience? Because a lot of those guys, players, will never experience that. Mm-hmm. And now they got a chance to go experience what playoff football is like here in the Carolinas.
I also just love the optics from the standpoint of you have this fusion of past and present, and you look at some of the core guys on today's team, the Derek Browns, the Chuba Hubbards, the Bryce Youngs, the J.C. Horns. They see you and Wesley Walls and Moose and Cam Newton and Delhomme and Jonathan Stewart and all the legends who had gathered, Smitty, and, hey, all those guys were part of something and they won. And because they did, they're in the fabric and they're in the stitching of this franchise forever. If we win, we then become a part of that. And so there's that that legacy component. And, you walk away, Eugene, going, okay, like those guys, the core guys, we kind of knew what we had in them going into the season. But then to see Jalen Coker under the bright lights.
Yes.
Tataroa McMillan under the bright lights. A guy like Mike Jackson, who I know only his second year with the team, but you could have made the case. He was
elite.
The best defensive player on the team this season.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
he got
a
here,
stretch.
did not have an NFL interception. Look how many key interceptions he's had this year in the past 2 years.
It's wild. So there's all these foundational building blocks now which to further build the house upon. And you go back to a couple of years ago. I mean, we were searching for not roses in the rubble, just seeds. We were like anything.
Yes.
2-15. What is here that could actually grow into something? And now you're looking around. Yeah, we've got that. We've got a really good receiving tandem going into next year. You got a quarterback going into his third year in this system, fourth year in the NFL. Does he take that next leap? There's a lot to like. There's still work to be done, and the bar has been raised, but there is a lot to build on from the end of this season.
And Anish, don't forget about the carousel of coaches that went through here. I mean, there was a lot of coaches that were, fired. Now he's a head coach. Now fired. Now he's now interim coach. He's an interim coach. He's an interim head coach. You have all that, and now it's settled. It's settled. It's settled on Coach Canales. It's settled. So now you don't have to worry about that. You talk about your quarterback. It's settled. You're not worried about your quarterback. You're not worried about what your receivers are. When you're looking at the fabric of your team, it always starts with your coaches. Then it starts with the key players. And when we look at it across the board, you go, defensively, we got Derek Brown, man. We got Wharton. Oh, man, we got some guys. Okay. In the secondary, man, we got Jack. We got JC. All right. We got Merrick. Okay. All right. Man, who are we missing? Oh, Rosebone's coming up. Man, Chairless showed out. Hey, Wallace. So now we're starting to put things together, go, hey, we're not far off because we went tit for tat with a team that is one of the best teams in the league, the Rams, and nearly, very, very nearly beat them. I thought if we had more time on the clock, I thought that it would have been a different story as opposed to having 32 seconds on the clock and kind of rushing.
You hate to say it, right, but the Panthers scored with, about 2:38 to go, and they got the ball on the short field because of the block punt. And hindsight's easy, right? They scored too quickly. But in the back of our minds, with Matthew Stafford on the other sideline, I think you're all going, did they score too quickly? You score when you score. It's the playoffs. But listen, you got beat by a Hall of Fame player who made a Hall of Fame throw.
First team All-Pro quarterback over Drake May even this year. And all the weapons they have, you can only cover. You got Devontae Adams, who's a big red zone
Watch
threat,
out.
14 touchdowns. You've got Puka Nacua, who's the number one receptions guy, and they got 3 tight ends out there. So it's like somebody.
Parkinson.
And by the way, was not open.
No.
So I mean, it's just like perfect throw, back shoulder, 6'7" guy beat a 6'2" guy by 2 inches to make the catch. And
exactly.
Give him credit for staying in bounds and completing it.
And that's what I mean. We went tit for tat with this team. That team was supposed to beat us by 10, 11 points. And that was not the case at all. Not the case. And so I absolutely loved the way we stood in there and had a chance to go ahead and win.
So much positive to take away from this season and even the ending. Everything except the outcome was something to build on going into the 2026 season. More to do here on Panther Talk on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network.
This is Panther Talk, brought to you by Atrium Health. At Atrium Health, we do more to keep you moving, achieving, striving at every age and stage, so you can live fully.
Anish Shroff, Jake Delhomme, Luke Kuechly. In many ways, this was a game that had many personalities. Rams jump out to a 14-0 lead early in the second quarter, and you wondered and we wondered if the Panthers would get over their initial stage fright because there was an early fear this could turn into a runaway train. Luke, there was a sequence late in the first half. The Panthers defense gets a stop. The offense goes down. They score. Bryce Young hit some big throws downfield. Jalen Coker made a couple of big plays. All of a sudden, you go into halftime, you're down 17-14 thinking you didn't play all that well, and I think that gave Carolina the confidence in the second half. Hey, not only can they hang with LA, they can go beat them, and it's not going to be fluky. And for the vast majority of the second, third, and fourth quarter, the Panthers were the better team. Late in the game, J.C. Horn gets hurt. Claude Sherless went down for a brief moment, but Horn ruled out. And when the Rams were going to throw the ball late in the game, not having J.C. Horn on the field, one of many factors, but certainly a factor. And you kind of tip your hat a little bit to Matthew Stafford, 37 years old, MVP season, Hall of Fame career. He made some big-time throws down the stretch. And, the Rams, a veteran team with playoff experience, made the big plays late. Carolina, valiant effort, but coming up a little short.
Yeah, a little bit short. But this is the most fun I've had at a game in a long time. You got to imagine these guys felt the same way, and certainly the fans, they were in it the whole game, and it was awesome. And like you said, just not quite enough. Weren't able to convert the fourth down on the first drive of the game. We had an opportunity for an interception in the end zone that kind of closed it out. We weren't able to make that one. The last pass of the game, we'd love to make that one. There's just a couple plays here and there that we'd love to have back, and some of that stuff really just comes, I think, with experience and the ability to do it. But I think at the end of the day, you look at our season and how it went, and we came so far from that first game down in Jacksonville to where we are. We almost knocked off one of the best teams in the NFL. It was fun to watch. The sad part to me is this team will never be the same team, and now we got to wait all the way until August again to see these guys come out and play. There'll be a ton of changes this offseason, and, with players, free agency, and the draft, and how all that works. It's just this team was so fun to watch in its different phases throughout the year. You saw guys like JC and Mike Jackson and Christian Roseboom really play, and then the rock of that defense. Great having Derek Brown back and seeing him at his best. And then we saw some young guys that we drafted. T-Mac on the offensive side of the ball, Nick Scorton, two pieces that could be big moving forward with us. It's good to see Jalen Coker take control of that number 2 wide receiver spot, and there's a lot more to talk about, but I think a lot of it is you end the season not obviously the way you want to, but with a lot of hope, and hope that we've got the right people on this team, and sometimes all you need in the playoffs is a little bit of experience, and now we certainly have that.
Yeah, they have that, and Jake, I'll start with the offense because Bryce, 264, a touchdown, a pick. He had a great rushing touchdown as well. Jalen Coker, over the second half of the season when he was healthy, basically took over the number 2 wide receiver spot. He played the best game of his career today, 9 for 134. You find out when the lights go on who steps up, who plays. We learned a lot about Coker. We learned a lot about a guy like Tetairoa McMillan, who stepped up big, 5 catches, 81 yards. That's a pretty darn good receiving tandem going forward. If Xavier Legette can figure it out next season, even better. Defensively, Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, Trayvon Merrick, there are a lot of pieces there. Perhaps not quite ready to take that next step, but it doesn't diminish all the steps they did take.
No, it doesn't. And I'm like Luke. How exciting was this game? I mean,
awesome. How about the fans?
The electricity I felt throughout my body all game long, and I think we all felt it. And just because that hope and that excitement, it's there, right? And listen, I'm proud. And you think about this football game, first drive of the game, and instead of running it on 4th and 1, sure, we can second guess that. Gave them a short field and give them credit, but we never back down, right? And, Coker was unbelievable. Just think about the youth. I mean, this is an undrafted rookie free agent who had some injuries last year. Didn't play a whole season, but played some. Started out the season injured this year and then came on. And you think about that pick between him and Bryce, right? That was a miscommunication. We had a muff punt, but we were able to kind of recover from that. It's there, man. You see it. You sense it. And we're not old. I'll keep saying that. We've had some injuries. I think at certain positions on this football team we've been decimated, and linebacker has been one of them. Proud of this team, like the steps we're going to – I'm looking forward to the steps we're going to make going forward. I think the future is bright. And if you would have told me Bryce Young was going to throw the ball 40 times, I thought we would have lost by 17 or more.
Luke, I'll put it to you this way and give you the last word, because 2013 was kind of that first time that the team that ended up having the great season in 2015 stepped into the limelight. What do you remember about the way 2013 ended, what you took into the offseason, and how it built the bridge for what was to come over the next few years?
I certainly felt like we were building something, and that, I mean, some of those guys that played in the playoffs before, I certainly hadn't, and it was a big bump in speed and intensity, and it took me a second to kind of get caught up. So I knew moving forward into the next season,
I'd been there, I'd done it, I knew what the playoffs were like. But I think what happened is people kind of figured out who they were and where they fit on that team in 2013, and moving into 2014, everybody had a very well designated position and where they fit on the team and where they fell, not only on the field but in the locker room. And I think you have to go in an offseason and ask yourself, what did we learn? And I think going from 13 to 14, I think we understood, hey, we are a physical downhill run game with an electric quarterback in Cam. Our best wide receiver is Greg Olsen, and we're going to bring in wide receivers that understand that and are willing to sit back and say, hey, 88's our guy. We're going to give the ball to 28, and Cam Newton's going to run the ball a lot. Are you guys okay with that? Yes. So I think what I'm kind of drawing the parallel to is we're going to bring in free agents this year that understand that, hey, number 4, number 18, Coker and T-Mac on the offensive side of the ball are our guys right now. You're going to have to unseat them if you want to play. And I think there's certain spots on the defensive side of the ball. Hey, do we have a spot? Hey, number 7, Trayvon Merrick's a dude for us. Hey, how do you fit within our team to complement Trayvon Merrick? So I think you learn a lot about your team, and then you build your offseason program and your offseason strategy with Dan and Brant Tillis around that.
Charlotte and the Carolinas, you've got a lot to be proud of. Don't let this be the ending. The fans showed out. They showed up. They were loud. They were vociferous. They made this place quake and shake. And if that carries into next season, and if the momentum of this season carries into next season, today is not an ending, but it is a beginning of things to come.
This is Panther Talk, brought to you by Coke. Game day deserves the great taste of Coca-Cola, because fan work is thirsty work.
With Jim Szoke, Eugene Robinson, Anish Shroff, the Panthers head into the offseason. Let's tackle some of what we think Dan Morgan and this front office will address in the coming months here. You got the draft in April. You've got free agency before that. Eugene, I want to start on defense because the impetus this past offseason was to fortify the defensive line. They made a lot of progress up front, getting a healthy Derek Brown big. I think the secondary was a strength of this team, the corners especially. Trayvon Merrick was a really, really impactful free agent signing. Inside linebacker, I can see them addressing that. And then there certainly is a need for another pass rusher who can make an impact, because with these corners, Eugene, you can get to the quarterback a little quicker. All of a sudden, if there's a double-digit sack guy on the team next year, it's got a chance to make this a defense that was middle of the pack this year to a top 10, top 5 defense even.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking about that edge rusher or that linebacker. I know we run a 3-4 system, and so you're looking at like a Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, looking for that type of player on the outside, right, to go ahead and to really be prolific. You know, Julius Peppers was very, very prolific on the outside, you know, just making, hey, a guy you have to go ahead and contend with. When you got a guy like that, it makes the secondary's job easier. And if you got guys that cover in the secondary as well as we cover in the secondary, you got interceptions.
Remind people, when you played at Green Bay and played with Green Bay, what did it do for the secondary to have Reggie White up front?
You had Reggie White off the edge, Gilbert Brown, like doing so much of what Derek Brown was doing, just pushing the pocket. We had another guy, Sean Jones, off the edge, getting hands in the face. The quarterback was moving off his spot. Before I got there, they had maybe like.
And they had Bryce Paup too, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. We had like 12 interceptions, right? That 12 or 15 interceptions. When I got there, I told the guys, we're going to go get interceptions. We're gonna practice this because look at the defensive front we have. We ended up with like 32 that year because the guys up front were putting so much pressure, the quarterback's thrown off his spot. I said, all you have to do is be near the receiver, and you're going to have a chance for interception if you have really good technique. And that's what it does. So when we are able to get that, you know, Julius Peppers type person to rush the quarterback with that secondary, I'm telling you, if I would love to play in a secondary like that when you got pressure on the quarterback, because it makes my job that much easier.
I think you nailed the most important parts. Linebacker, I mean, you think about the history of this team.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many. John Beeson, Dan Morgan, Luke. Thomas Davis, guys like that, that big impact interior type linebacker in particular, or at least a 3-down guy that can help with pass coverage and just stay on the field. I mean, that's kind of what the hope was with Trevin Wallace. I think he's been just okay when he's healthy, and maybe next year he emerges and takes the next step when he's healthy. But I think that's what he's a sideline to sideline guy. But I think an upgrade there. It may not be in the draft. Maybe you get a veteran guy for that. Offensive left tackle is now a big question. And I thought before that, because I think Taylor Moton's heading into his additional years he added to his contract with the 2 years this past year, towards the end of his career, that offensive tackle is going to be big. And obviously with Bryce, you want as much protection out there as possible. So hopefully a healthy Robert Hunt next year with Damian Lewis, and Cade Mays is a free agent. We'll see what they do at center and so forth there. But that offensive line, you can never have enough. So if you went early, first, second round on a tackle, that would never be a mistake, as long as it's a guy that can contribute right away.
And then when you look at the receiver position, Jalen Coker cemented himself
solid
as a bona fide number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. You saw what he did when the lights were bright. 9 catches, had the big touchdown to give the Panthers the lead late. Tetero McMillan had the best rookie season by any wide receiver in franchise history. He looks to be a bona fide number 1, and it's important to remember he did that with all the attention of the other defenses all season long as the number 1 guy as a rookie. I think it's a big season for Xavier Legette. It's a big offseason for Xavier Legette. Former first-round pick. Some of the shine has worn off. Is there anything there for the Panthers? Can he find himself? He took a step backwards, but there also seems to be a need, Jim, if they can find that vertical threat. Maybe it's the slot guy. I don't know if it's Jimmy Horn. Maybe it could be Jimmy Horn. But maybe you bring in somebody else who can take the top off the defense. Now, that allows McMillan and Coker and those guys more room to work underneath. And it wouldn't be out of question either to go upgrade at tight end.
No, I think you're right. And I like the potential. First of all, Tommy Tremble, I think, is a little underrated. I think Tommy Tremble brings a lot to that position. But
he's not a number 1.
He's not a number 1. But I do like what the Rams do with the 3 tight ends, especially when they're the combo where they're blockers who can catch. Because I'm not a big fan of catchers who can't block, because that's another receiver.
That's another receiver.
So I think the dynamic players are like the potential I'm trying to get to is like Mitchell Evans. Like, he's a guy who can block, but he's pretty solid now. He's just a brick and mortar receiver guy. He's not gonna hit you for the 20-yard play. But I think somebody like who's maybe of that mode, but maybe can get a little bit further downfield and be a bigger player there. And you're right about need to take the top off the defense, but I think we kind of missed the Adam Thielen role this past year too. That reliable third down, sharp route runner. They didn't activate Hunter Renfrow this year. David Moore got hurt, and when Thielen was gone, I don't know that we had necessarily that Ricky Prohl, kind of a player who's just a savvy route runner that on 3rd and 6, he's going to be in the right spot.
I think the top is really up to Jimmy Horn. I think because he's that guy. He has that type of speed to go ahead. And I know that, that 4th down play, there's a lot of pressure, to be the guy, and to be out there all the time. And so I get it. And so I'm going to give him a pass on that 4th down play. But I think he's somebody that, as you really put in the mix, I think he's that guy. He has that Ted Ginn type of speed, and every defensive back will respect that speed, and you allow T-Mac and Jalen Coker to get loose underneath, man, that's golden right there.
Yeah, and Jimmy Horn started to see more offensive snaps late in the season. The last position to address quickly is running back, because Chuba was banged up this year, lost his starting job. We don't know if Rico Dowdle's going to come back. He did make some comments after the game where he said he wants to go where he can be in every down back. We brought up Jonathan Brooks with Coach Canales, coming off 2 ACLs, hasn't played in a couple of years. What do you have there? What do you have with Trevor Etienne? Running back, to me, is going to be interesting. Do you draft a guy? Do you go find another Rico Dowdle? And can Chuba get back to what he was 2 years ago? So that's a position that potentially could be on Dan Morgan's
watch out for Etienne. I think he's that guy.
Shopping list as well. Yeah, watch out for Trevor Etienne. Maybe a bigger role. We'll be back to wrap things up here on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network.
Panther Talk continues on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network.
Anish, Jim, Eugene, as we head into the offseason, what are you most excited for with this team going into the 2026 season? Eugene.
I'm excited because I saw an offense that gave me so much life, and I thought it was with the receivers. We talked about somebody really taking control. I remember when Thielen was here, I used to say, well, what other receiver's going to go ahead and take control? Who's going to be that guy? And when they drafted T-Mac, and I was like, oh, I'm looking for an edge rusher or something. Okay, who's this guy, T-Mac? Okay. I had no idea how good he was. And now to see Jalen Coker come alongside, I think we have one of the best tandems in the league. There's no doubt. So I'm so excited to see what we can do offensively with a healthy Jalen Coker with a healthy T-Mac at the same time playing on the field, number one and number two. They make plays.
I'm just excited about the overall prospects for the team. We talk about a weak NFC South. It's not the NFC West. And so I think you go into next year and everybody's going to be improving their rosters in this offseason, but the Panthers will be doing the same thing. I like our chances as far as just that energy where we left off with this playoff game, what that's going to look like opening day, moving into next year, as opposed to all the question marks and wait and see and so forth. There's always some amount of all that, of course, but I think it's going to be a little bit more of a known what this team is about, and I think there's a lot of excitement and expectation about this being a playoff team next year, whether they win the division or not. I mean, just putting together enough wins, double-digit wins maybe, to be a real factor in the NFC.
This was a Panthers team that played the second most rookies of any team in the NFL when you look at games played.
Wow.
A lot of usage coming from rookies, draft picks, even undrafted free agents, and they got a lot of production. A guy like Nick Scorton, who had 5 sacks in his rookie season, if you can pair him with another bona fide edge rusher, add depth to that position, it could unlock the defense. Can Scorton take that next step, be a double-digit sack guy? I think the defense is a lot closer than people think to being amongst the very best in the NFL. The offense now with Bryce Young going into year 3 in Dave Canales' system, 4th year overall. You mentioned the 2 wide receivers. There was a lot to like. Saturday was an ending. It really is a beginning.
This has been Panther Talk on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network. Brought to you by Atrium Health. At Atrium Health, we do more to keep you moving, achieving, striving at every age and stage so you can live fully. Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? Coke. Game day deserves the great taste of Coca-Cola because fan work is thirsty work.
Panther Talk. Panther Talk. Panther Talk.
This is the Carolina Panthers Radio Network.
Wasabi is purpose-built to free your business from skyrocketing storage costs and fees. Wasabi is the go-to provider for professional and collegiate sports teams around the world. Check out Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cyber criminals. Wasabi, driving innovation in data storage for up to 80% less than market competition. Try for free at wasabi.com. Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage, proud partner of iHeart Podcast Network.
This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Now let's get into the serious stuff. We're talking football food, specifically Daisy French onion dip. These are so delicious. They're like homemade dips, made with real herb and spices, also made with some Daisy sour cream. Daisy sour cream is a long-standing staple for Taco Tuesday. They also have Daisy Ranch dip. So get out there and give Daisy French onion dip a try. You will not regret it.